Why AAA games have no soul? Um, I think it's because they really try to hit as much of an audience as they can. But I don't know if the right word would be no soul. I also think that a lot of game studios, AAA ones at least, because you gotta remember AAA means they're putting some insane amount of money in it, right? So they don't want to take the gamble that their game is just gonna flop. So they're gonna go with a formula that has already worked. So obviously that's gonna take away from the actual uniquism from the game.
Why most AAA games have no soul.
What is happening to the studios we loved? How can they make some of the greatest games of all time, then turn around?
I also think a lot of game studios are leaning more into the corporate scene when it really isn't. I mean, it's kind of necessary, but like they're really bad at it. Like it's been proven. Like corporate and gaming studios is some of the worst examples of corporate in the entire business world.
Around and just make disappointment after disappointment. It felt like the end of AAA games, but then Elden Ring came out.
Yep. Wait, am I in the picture? Oh, okay, all right, good, I am. I thought I was about to get, like, just taken out. All right, I was about, oh, man.
Why is Elden Ring such
like,
a breath of
why
fresh
am I
air
not in there?
when most other AAA games feel copy-pasted? And why did this game cause so much controversy?
Elden Ring is Game of the Year? The game is
Man.
To answer these questions,
To be fair, that guy speedruns the game. So yeah, he hates it probably more than Quantum does.
we first need to understand
That's
that
happy,
when
huh?
Elden Ring came out, the game defied everyone's expectations.
You have to both love, absolutely love, and absolutely hate a game if you want to speedrun it, or if you have been speedrunning it for a while.
Elden Ring sold 12 million copies in the first 2
Or no
weeks.
hits again.
Even
Yeah, excuse me.
Miyazaki, the mastermind behind Elden Ring, was surprised by the success. And to put the sales into
Yeah.
context, Elden Ring at release was on pace to sell the same amount of copies as some of the best-selling open-world games of the last decade. GTA 5, Skyrim, and Breath of the Wild. I mean, if you really think about it, Elden Ring should not have been performing as well as these other games. Don't get me wrong, Elden Ring is an incredible game, but most FromSoft games are pretty niche and usually target
Well, Sekiro is the niche of niche.
They're extremely niche, and they also don't have a bunch of like established IP, like Legend of Zelda or Grand Theft
Skyrim.
Auto. Like
Yeah.
boomers know what Legend of Zelda or Grand Theft Auto is. They don't know what
Well, they probably know Elder Scrolls as well. Well, maybe. That's hard to say.
Dark Souls is.
But I think if you're into RPGs, you probably know what like Morrowind and stuff like that.
more hardcore and advanced player base. By nature, FromSoft games shouldn't sell as much as Zelda or GTA. But this time, Elden Ring did. Why? What was different about Elden Ring, and what set it apart from other FromSoft games? The answer? Nothing really. Yes, Elden Ring was
It was
open
good.
world, so unlike other Souls games, you could avoid
It did a lot of things that the previous games had done, but they did it better. And it was one of the few Dark Souls games or FromSoft games that you could technically have an easy mode on. Like if you just look up guides.
certain bosses and areas. Yes, the
Yep.
lore was some of the best I'd ever seen in a game. The world was so immersive that I don't think I could ever find everything in the mysterious world of the lands between. Seriously, Elden Ring is a masterpiece. Go play this game. But I would argue that almost every FromSoft game is a masterpiece too. And just like the other Souls games, Elden Ring still targets a hard
I think Elden Ring is better though than all of them. I think the only one that comes close is Dark Souls 3. Personally. I mean, I love Bloodborne, but I don't think it's anywhere near at the level of Elden Ring. And I think Sekiro is probably the worst of them in terms of like getting into it, because I think I've already talked about it with Sekiro. It's if you don't like parrying in games, you're not going to like Sekiro.
hardcore player base. And the gameplay is still punishing as hell. So why
Not really.
Elden Ring is a fucking joke. All of the games except for maybe Sekiro are a fucking joke. If you're having trouble in Elden Ring on a boss,
I don't know if Asmon should be talking. I think he died how many times to the gargoyle boss? So I don't know if he should be talking. It's like it's a joke.
ding ding, summon the fucking hats.
But when he first played it, I'm not talking about like his most recent run.
Yes, almost. Yeah, get good.
Then is Elden Ring capturing a much larger chunk of the gaming market. There is a huge demand for high-quality AAA games.
Oh,
not
absolutely.
much of a supply. I mean, imagine you're at a restaurant and you have a hankering for some steak, but they're out of stock.
Okay.
All they have left is some burnt scraps of cooked steak they can shovel onto a plate, or you can get a delicious
Seems good to me.
honey-baked ham with a sweet honey drizzle.
Oh,
So although you
ham.
wanted a steak, you choose
weird.
the honey-baked ham because the steak scraps just aren't edible. This is the AAA
Yeah, they
game market
are.
we are in right now. Millions
Yeah, I don't know if like that was a good. He should have done chicken or something like that.
of
What the hell
gamers
do you mean?
looking at the piss-poor options, praying to Gabe, the god of Steam, to give them anything fun and exciting. It doesn't matter what genre, as long as it's good. Just give us something edible and satisfying. So when Elden Ring came out and the world saw how amazing this game was, people who were originally intimidated by Souls games looked at Elden Ring and said, screw it, let's try it out.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that came in and they started playing it because of this. And I think this also happened on a much lesser extent with Demon Souls. The reason why Demon Souls might have been more accessible is like Demon Souls is a joke of a game. It's very easy to play, easy to beat, but also it required having a PS5. And, you know, I think there's like 700 and something people in the world with the PS5 right now.
I was actually gonna say that. Like, I think Demon Souls would have done a lot better had it come on the PC and PS4
So, you know, limited audience
and
there.
Xbox.
PS3, I am looking at a clip of the remastered version of Demon Souls. I am not talking about PS3. I am talking about PS5.
Nothing else to play. So like the guy choosing the ham over the burnt steak, I would argue that Elden Ring's meteoric success is not only a byproduct of how good the game is, but because there's such a small supply of good AAA titles right now.
Yep.
Elden Ring really is the best option on the menu. However, like every industry, there will be people who hate or love something purely because of its popularity. And man, do we have a few in the gaming industry. But
Oh, Death Stranding was just a bad game. Like, you can't argue that. From just a gaming standpoint, Death Stranding was a bad game. It was interesting, but it's still a bad game.
Oh, bro, I'm so tired of that. Like people that hate games, hate things because they're popular.
surprising this time, many of the people who hate Elden Ring are developers at other studios.
I wonder why.
Infuriated by Elden Ring's success.
Yep.
Developer who
Heard about
said
that.
Elden Ring's UX is so bad that I can only imagine FromSoft's devs smoking at their desks and using CRT
We watched
monitors.
this
I
video.
guess these developers felt that the game violated certain tenets of game development, and by violating these rules of development, Elden Ring didn't
I remember
deserve
this
its
one.
success. Why would these devs be so angry about Elden Ring's success? Who cares if Elden Ring didn't follow the rules of
I can see why the devs would be mad, because most of the time whenever people talk about Elden Ring being good, people are like, man, it's not like those other games. Those other games are fucking garbage.
Yeah, like Assassin's Creed and stuff.
Elden Ring is good compared to that other game that's garbage. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's because they're being compared with it and they're being told their game is garbage. It makes sense that they're not going to be happy about that.
game
Exactly.
development. It's not like Elden Ring's success affects them. Well, mostly. I can see
Right.
why developers at Guerrilla Games were upset. Elden Ring released only 1 week after Horizon Forbidden West, so you could say that Elden Ring overshadowed the hype around Horizon. So Horizon possibly didn't
Well, Horizon also didn't release on PC, while Elden Ring did. So obviously it was going to overshadow it to a degree, but even on its like by itself, even if the games were like one-to-one comparisons.
perform as expected. The reason is petty and in no way Elden Ring's fault, but at least I can see where the Guerrilla
Yeah.
Devs' frustration comes from.
Like, I'll be buying Horizon when it comes out on PC. So it's just they take forever.
There you go.
Why were Ubisoft devs so upset? None of their sales were affected by the release of Elden Ring. Now, remember, these were only a few people and not the whole studio who were angry at Elden Ring. However, the response from gamers to not only these devs, but Ubisoft as a whole,
Well, I think also like a lot of this is like a meme. I'm sure that Ubisoft makes plenty of good games that are fine, and I haven't played one of their games for quite a while, so I can't really say.
They're good. They're not like gonna blow your mind like Elden Ring did, but they're definitely not bad. Like, I bought the Viking game, I bought the one for the Egypt. I forget the names of them. They're all so alike. Black Flag is one of my favorite ones from the series. So it's like they definitely do good games.
But yeah, I'm sure they probably make good games sometimes.
Their new IPs aren't that good though. I can't remember the other one. There's one I was looking for that just came out like crap. Wild Friends, Wild something. I don't remember. It was like Ghost Recon, I think, where it's like multiplayer. Kind of looked like the Division, but it wasn't good.
No, maybe I should play one. Maybe I should play one
Play
and really find out for
Black
myself.
Flag, man. It's a good game.
Showed us something really interesting. Gamers are tired of playing the same
The
thing.
Viking one
We are
wasn't bad. I
tired
don't think it
of
was
the
that good either.
formulaic nature of Ubisoft and most other AAA games.
Sure, yeah. It has a satisfying shooter-looter game loop, the graphics are great, the mechanics are well-tuned and executed, and the story's acceptable.
Bummer?
Yeah! It's exactly the same as all other Ubisoft games. It's just another copy-paste.
You see, when every user
To a
interface,
degree, yeah.
every store, and every game looks relatively the same, we notice. It's like hotel.
I love how you can look at, like, the one thing that you will always be able to understand. You won't be able to understand the character menu. You won't be able to understand the game menu. You won't be able to understand what's happening on the screen. But goddamn, you will fucking understand immediately what the battle pass is. And if there's a gotcha system, you're gonna see, okay, this is the current banner. This is the basic banner. This is the, the.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, like Assassin's Creed games, almost all of them have like a cash shop. But honestly, I've never used it. I didn't use it in the Viking game, and I didn't use it in the Egypt game. So it's like it's there, but honestly, you can ignore it.
Special like promotional banner. Okay, these are the modifiers that increase the banner characters. Okay, yep. And then there's your 2 currencies that you need to buy with your 3rd currency, and then you buy your 3rd currency with your 4th currency, but you could also buy the 3rd currency with.
That's actually not with Assassin's Creed games. From what I remember, it's not like what he's talking about. I know what he's talking about, and Diablo Immortal is like a freaking really bad with it, but like the Assassin's Creed games don't really do that. I could be wrong because, like I said, I don't use them. But from what I remember, it wasn't like that.
With this currency from the store, and then you use that currency, what you buy with your real currency, and then there's an exchange rate of 1 to 100. But if you buy $100 of it at a time, you get 20% off for your first purchase. So it's actually a little bit like, yeah,
someone's gonna do a rap now on Asmon doing that on his Reddit.
Art. Each piece of art is theoretically different, but somehow feels and functions exactly the same. So when the first few Assassin's Creed games came out, they felt new and exciting. Running around the Holy Land or Rome, leaping off buildings, sneaking or hiding in hay bales, it was unique. But now I can barely tell the difference between Assassin's Creed gameplay and every other Ubisoft game. Ubisoft thinks if they just change the era and location of each game.
Watch Dogs did not look like Assassin's Creed, almost at all. I don't think it even played similar. It had a similar like map in a sense, in that you could like collect things, but I don't think they were similar at all in terms of gameplay. Maybe other people felt different. I just didn't feel like that.
We won't notice.
well, it clearly is true that people don't notice because he just posted their sales figures, and it seems like people don't notice. So, like, let's keep that in mind. Number 2, I think that one of the reasons why these companies choose safe options is the same reason why we get a new Spider-Man movie every other year. It's or a new Transformers movie or something like that.
Yeah.
It's because everybody knows Spider-Man will sell. Transformers will sell. It works. And a lot of these companies have massive amounts of money riding on these investments, and they can't afford to have an L.
Exactly what I said in the beginning. Like, there's too much money for it to be a gamble for these companies.
That's the real reason.
I mean, one has knives and one has guns, right? But just like hotel art, they may look different, they don't feel any different. It's the same game with a new coat of paint. This reason is why Ubisoft devs
I don't really
reacted
agree.
the way
At
they
least
did.
not with Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed. When I played it, it didn't feel the same. But then again, maybe I'm one of those people he's talking about where because I didn't feel the same, because they didn't feel the same to me, I'm a bad gamer. I don't know what he's trying to say. I do think that the Assassin's Creed games feel the same. From like the one in Egypt to the Viking one, they're very, very identical in terms of the feel of the game. But just Watch Dogs, I don't know.
They have been taught that
It
to
didn't
make
to
a
me.
successful game, you
And I haven't played the new Watch Dogs, so maybe that one does.
need to follow a formula. So when a studio like FromSoft makes Elden Ring without the formula,
I mean, they have a formula as well in a sense. Like it's Elden Ring feels like Dark Souls 3, a better version of it, but still feels like it.
and it's incredibly successful, it infuriates developers who have had their creativity restricted and pushed into a box. Now, these devs who criticize FromSoft should take full responsibility for what they say.
But why didn't they feel like this was Zelda? You know what I mean? Like when Zelda came out with an open world game, Breath of the Wild. That was like the game that really made it open world. You know what I mean? So I don't know why they would diss Elden Ring and not Zelda for that same reason. Because it's in a similar vein. Like Dark Souls, you had Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 through 3. That's 4 games right there. I won't count Sekiro because that's really its own kind of game. But then you also have Bloodborne, so that's 5 games that all are kind of similar. They're not exactly the same, of course. They do feel pretty equal. I think Dark Souls 3 or 2 probably be the odd one out, but even then, it's for the average gamer, it's still going to be roughly the same.
Said in a public forum. However, I also blame AAA studios like Ubisoft.
I get so mad about people that put out a hot take on the internet and then they get mad whenever people respond to it.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, whenever I tweet something out and I get a bunch of hate for it, I don't cry about this. Like, yes, it might annoy me because I think they're wrong and I'll vent about it. I'll be like, oh, these guys are so fucking stupid. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. But I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I'm getting harassed. Okay. No, like people disagree. That you're not it's a discussion.
Yeah, if you put your opinion out in a public forum, you should expect the public to respond as well.
Disagreement.
Yeah.
Whether
through agreement or disagreement.
What's wrong with people, man? Stop talking if you don't want people to talk back.
Forcing their teams to create unimaginative copycats of their previous 10 games. We can get mad at a few devs all we want, but the real problem comes from the Ubisoft's executives choosing to be formulaic. But why are the leaders of Ubisoft and other AAA studios hellbent on producing the same type of game? Why force your devs to work on the 100th Assassin's Creed?
Oh my god. I know what that is. That's the bird from Dark Souls 1. And he's on a computer. Bro, why is he on why is a bird on a flat screen computer?
I swear to God, I thought that was a foot. But I can't see what he's talking about. Looks like a monitor.
Oh my god.
Almost looks like an Apple monitor.
Like that's a
Creed when they want to work on something new and exciting. The answer? Stability and money.
Yep,
this may be obvious to everyone,
obviously.
But milking an IP over and over again.
It's not about milking it. It's just safer.
Again, is the easiest way to make money as an entertainment company.
I mean, they've already sold Skyrim 10 times over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
The reason why we've had a new Call of Duty 19 years in a row, and also why 2020
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. This is the second version of Modern Warfare 2.
Yep.
That's right. And it also includes Warzone 2, the popular sequel to the popular game called Warzone that was a big favorite in 2020.
2022's top 20 best-selling games are all existing IP or sequels.
Let me see.
20
existing IP. Well, obviously, like number 2, Elden Ring is not. Let's see. FIFA. Yep, I'd say so. Man.
Best-selling games are all existing IP or.
I would argue that Sonic Frontiers is unique enough to probably not be counted.
I was actually about to say the exact same thing, and almost like Kirby to an extent. I don't think that Kirby is part of like it's a sequel, from what I understand. I could be wrong. I'm not really the biggest Kirby fan, at least not since like 64 or GameCube era. But I don't think Kirby in the Forgotten Land was a sequel. But definitely Sonic Frontiers, like, yeah, there's no like Sonic prior to that one that is even remotely the same. And I don't think it's a continuation of any story prior.
Is an existing IP, and so categorically he's right by saying this. But I think Sonic Frontiers, the reason,
Because otherwise you could say the same thing about Elden Ring.
okay, listen to why I'm saying this. It's because the premise for Sonic Frontiers is a completely open world game, and it is something that Sonic has never tried before. It's a new avenue of video game.
Yeah.
You see kind of what I'm saying?
Which is what Elden Ring
it's
is.
It's an
similar.
open world game, yeah. Yes, they have. But it's still Sonic. Okay, so like in my mind, I think that whenever a game deviates enough from what its original premise was, it effectively becomes a new game.
I do see what he means, but I'm also of the opinion that if it's a whole different cast, like for example, you have the Final Fantasy games, right? Where you have like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, have nothing to do with each other. I don't even think they're really a part of the same world, to be honest. Um, it's just they have a similar like magic system in a sense. They're almost like Final Fantasy in a sense is almost like D&D in a sense, in a way, in that they have like the same rules, and not even then. Honestly, it's weird. Um, that I see them as like their own thing. That's why whenever there's games that come out after that are tied to that specific game. So for example, let's say Final Fantasy, not the MMO, obviously. Well, I guess the MMO would also be the same. They have the expansions, but even like their normal games, like Final Fantasy X, the continuation of it was not Final Fantasy 11. It was Final Fantasy 10-2 or something like that. So I do see it as like its own little series, personally.
Even though it's not a new game, it effectively becomes one.
It's not like God of War. That's a sequel, so that is part of a series. You have Horizon 2, Forbidden West. That's a sequel. It's not part of its own original series. Mario Kart 8, same thing. It's all the same characters. Maybe Pokemon. I'm not exactly sure because I haven't played it. But I see 2 Pokemon games, Pokemon Scarlet Violet and Pokemon Legends. So I'm not sure how that works. But yeah, I would assume one is not tied to the other. If it is, then I would consider it part of the same series. And if it's not, I wouldn't.
That's how I see it. He's saying IP? No, I understand that. I'm just saying that, like, in functionality, I think Sonic Frontiers is more unique. Like, okay, can we agree that FIFA 2022 is about the same as FIFA 2023, much more so than Sonic Frontiers was about the same as the previous Sonic game? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say. That's it. Please just come on. And
like when I was talking about like different characters and stuff like that, like Sonic Frontiers, like there's not a, like a different Sonic game that directly is a prequel to Frontiers. So to me at least, that puts it as its own little series within the IP.
And you can say that with,
because some IPs are that big enough. You have Zelda, right? You have the ones that are like on the handhelds, like Four Swords and stuff like that. Well, you have the other ones like Breath of the Wild. Like Breath of the Wild to me is its own series. Like it started its new Zelda series in a sense.
with any of these other ones.
Sequels, except for Elden Ring. Seriously, look at this. Elden Ring is the only game on here that is a new IP.
Categorically
What's
accurate.
even more crazy.
True.
But it's not, in a sense, yes, but it's only like, if you go back to it, that's also the case with what was I thinking? What was I looking at? Because it's still a FromSoft game. It follows the FromSoft formula from like 1 to 3. And even Demon Souls to a sense. So they could have just called it Dark Souls Elden Ring. But they didn't. But they could have easily. And no one would have said anything about it. Just because it does feel like it should belong in there.
Sequels, except for Elden Ring. Seriously.
I mean, you got Minecraft, but that's not really That came out quite a while ago.
Look at this. Elden Ring is the only game on here that is a new IP.
Categorically
What's
accurate.
even more crazy
How was it with God of War? Because I think the two most recent God of Wars completely different than the ones prior to it. So I see it as like a new series.
about this list is that 2 of the top 20 games a new IP. What's even more crazy,
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I wonder who the guy
22.
was that was like, okay, guys, I know you're going to laugh, but bear with me here. We release Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 again. Well, what are we going to call it? All right. Get this. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. That guy right now, youngest junior vice president of the company.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, maybe they thought because everyone used remastered too much, they're like, we need to do our own thing. And to be fair, the people who play this kind of game, they're not going to care what they call it. Because it's just a new Call of Duty game. That's really all they need. Especially when it's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 remake. So they could have just done remaster, remake, Modern Warfare 2, and I don't think it would have made any difference in terms of the price how many they sold.
Made him a lot of money. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
about this list is that 2 of the top 20 games were Call of Duty games, and 3 of them were sports sequels, which
Yep.
are
2 of them were Pokemon
notorious
games.
for being the exact same as their predecessor. We
No,
can
they're not
complain
the same because they changed the numbers on the jerseys. What do you mean?
about these games being soulless copycats all we want, but we're the ones buying these soulless games in droves. And for companies to
They put gambling sponsors in it.
come up with brand new games and IP is risky, so studios will make sequels for as long as possible if we keep buying them.
Yeah.
So I don't ever see studios not making sequels when we buy them year after year. That said, there is a negative effect on your brand when you don't release something new or innovative. Think about it. What is one of your favorite games? Remember when that game was released and how you felt about the developer of that game.
Yeah.
Pretty good, right? Then think about that
was
specific
Blizzard.
developer's most recent games. How do
For me, that would have been BioWare with Mass Effect 2.
those new games compare with your favorite game? And how do
I mean, I feel like it's like From Software, obviously I'm very happy about. I with Blizzard, I like Dragonflight and I actually like Overwatch 2. Weird situation there. With Nintendo, I feel like Nintendo takes so many shots, they miss a lot of their shots, but I'm actually really looking forward to playing Sonic Frontiers. I haven't played it yet. I'm going to play through the whole thing.
Yeah, I actually
you
agree.
feel about that developer now? Probably not great. For me, it was Blizzard and Warcraft 3.
Aha.
This game made
I've really been waiting with Sonic Frontiers, 1, for it to go on sale, and 2, for the optimization. From what I understand, like, it was really, really bad.
Blizzard my favorite developer, and I wouldn't allow a bad word to be said about them. But now, Blizzard has released cash grab after cash grab,
Yep.
not to mention everything else they have done. And I can't help but look at Blizzard with
Well, they did. You got to keep that in mind. And done is also past tense as well, so, you know, minor nitpick there. I mean, there's no evidence that there's any sexual weird stuff happening at the offices, and there's no way it could happen because in Preach's video, nobody was at the office. Problem solved. Well, we don't have any more problems
That's an
with
easy way
sexual
to do it.
harassment. Yeah, because nobody's there. There we go. Totally issue solved.
That's one way to do it. Just remove the equation.
disappointment. A bad game happens sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But Blizzard hasn't made a good game since 2016 with Overwatch. Not to mention they somehow butchered Warcraft 3 with the
I would say, I would argue that I actually think that I think Dragonflight is a good game.
I was gonna say that. Like, it's, at least to me, one of my, so far, like, an expansion that I played a lot. Like, way more than the ones before it. At least
I
the
also think
last
that
two.
Legion, in a lot of ways, was ultimately a good game. And I would even go as far to say that I think Overwatch 2 is a good game.
I haven't played Overwatch 2. I'm waiting for the campaign.
That's right. I will say it right now. Right now. And by the way, while we're on the topic, why the fuck does every other fucking person get sponsored to play Overwatch 2 except me, and I'm the only person that goes out of my way to defend it?
Yeah, Blizzard does not like Asmon.
What a bunch of
I don't know
shit
why.
that is, huh?
Maybe they just don't want someone who like looks like he's representing like a crazy homeless person.
Can't believe it.
I just can't.
Obviously not homeless, but like Asmon does not have like the best rap when it comes to like game developers.
Imagine defending Blizzard anymore. The Blizzard brand has fallen from one of the greatest video game developers to a company that is compared to EA. But as we saw with Blizzard in the beginning, the opposite.
I feel like that's also like there's a certain amount of like gamer circle jerking that's happening there. Because like EA, it's in the game. Bro, people love Madden. People love these games.
Yeah.
Try to step outside of your fucking little box and realize that there are a bunch of people that buy the new game every year and they love the new game.
Yeah, and I think I've brought it up before, but I do believe that the reason those games sell so well is not because the game is good. It's because these are people who are into that sport, and the game is an outlet for them to interact with that sport in a more direct manner. Because I remember when I worked in a sports book, like most of the people there actually played sports games, but that is all they played. They all had like Xboxes and stuff, and all they would play is sports games. They would not play any other type of game, whether it's a shooter. Sometimes they play Call of Duty, to be fair. It's a weird crossover with that. But like most people I remember back then, because this is like, I don't know, quite a while ago, they would get the new systems and they would tell me like, oh, do you gonna get it the new MLB game? I'm like, oh no, like I don't really play those. And I remember getting like the strangest looks, like, why do you have a system then? Like legit, I've been asked that because I didn't play those sports games.
Because they
And they were like, why would you have that system then? Why would you buy something so expensive?
like playing those games. It might not be popular on YouTube commentary, but just because you're not the target audience doesn't mean the game is bad. It's like whenever I go and I watch some, like that, like weird, like fashion dress up game on like the Nintendo Direct. I'm not the target audience for that game, okay? I'm pretty sure I'm not. But guess what? Somebody else is, and they might like it. Yeah, like most mobile games. Yeah, exactly. Like people are just so, FIFA's massive. Yeah, FIFA's huge.
Yep.
Huge bad take, Asmon. Explain to me why that is a bad take. FIFA and those sports games for normies anyway. Yes, they are. That's who they're there for. It's an objectively money grab game. Every game is a money grab. What are you talking about?
And a lot of people who play those games are not fans of the freaking new systems they put in. Like the seasons, like they actually like the seasons. This is like stuff I learned, we'll talk about with back when I worked in a sports book. Like they actually like the season stuff. They just don't like how they had to pay money for like the packets and stuff like that. So it's, or at least from what they've told me recently. Not recently, the last time I spoke to them. Anyways, like it's not like they're fans of that stuff too. It's just it works. Is the problem.
They're making all of them for money. All I'm saying is that these games that people are shitting on constantly, maybe have you ever considered that they just weren't made for you?
Yeah, but that shouldn't, like, you should still be able to say it's a shit game. It's just not for you. But it's still, like, is it categorically a bad game? Like, even if you're into it. Like if that's the kind of game
I don't
like.
understand.
Like, my favorite sports games were the ones that had, like, very little rules, like NFL Blitz. And I forgot the basketball version of it. But, like, those kind of games were, like, the most fun to me. I think it was, NBA Streets, I think. Oh, it was so long ago. I don't remember anymore. But I do remember it was the ones that like the rules didn't matter. Like those to me were the funnest.
That's what people want. The new Madden. They want the new game with the new jerseys. It's stupid.
I wonder what's going to happen with FIFA, because didn't FIFA like give their rights to someone else?
But they want it.
When you release something new that just blows people away, like Elden Ring, gamers will have your back, even if the game isn't perfect. I mean, look at one of the biggest controversies on YouTube, featuring the Act Man and Quantum TV.
This guy made a video saying like Elden Ring sucks or something, and he hates everyone that plays Elden Ring. So Act Man made a video about like the worst take in Elden Ring.
The drama from these Elden Ring videos escalated to way more controversial stuff, like bigotry, copyright, demonetization, and the Act Man trending as the number one
this was a war
story on Twitter. But all this stemmed from arguments about Elden Ring. Why? Because FromSoft had gained some huge
No, it's because all of these fucking self-appointed like fucking, they're like the musical hipsters. They're like, yeah, I don't like Drake, I don't like Kanye, like I don't listen to any of them. Like my favorite artist is Aesop Rock, and you know I don't listen to any.
That, or it's like they play the game, it's too hard for them, and then really like that's because the game is bad. And how can you, like the only people who are saying are these as good is because like people who just are don't realize how bad of a game it is.
Popular music, anything that's on the radio, like they totally sold out. They're like so bad. It's just like, what the hell's wrong with you? Yo, Aesop Rocks, he's great. He's fucking amazing. None Shall Pass is like one of my favorite songs. But listen, so is Drake. So is fucking Kanye. Absolutely. Yeah, they're also good. It's just people whose personality is not liking what's popular.
Points for releasing pure art, and like any
there are people like that,
piece of
unfortunately.
art, people will have visceral reactions, both positive and negative, which is also why people get so angry when you change the story and lore of video games with TV shows like Halo or The Witcher. I mean, Witcher 3 was a beloved game and a piece of art.
People don't get angry that you changed the lore. People get angry that you made the lore worse. Very different.
So many people. Not to mention the
well, changing the lore also, like if they change something for no reason, or like the reason is just stupid, like wokeism. Like if they made Geralt black, like doesn't make it worse or good, but you did it for no reason.
Comics. So when you mess up the story and lore in the show, the community isn't toxic when they react negatively. They are passionately asking for you to respect that piece of art as they do. Now, all this said, I don't just want to bash
to a degree, yes, but it's like also like Asmon said, like if they do it well and it's cool, most people are okay with it
and walk away. True constructive criticism should have ideas for improvement, not just ranting. So if I had the opportunity to consult a AAA studio, I would suggest the Pareto principle to be applied company-wide. This principle, also known as the 80-20 rule, is the observation that roughly 80% of consequences come from 20% of causes. One company effectively applying this technique is Google. During my time at Google, I saw how they allowed their employees to spend 20% of their time working on something the individual thought would most benefit the company. Both Gmail and AdSense came from this practice, and the former made Google more than $54 billion just in 2022. A more applicable example is Fortnite. The original Fortnite concept was developed from an internal game jam put on by Epic.
And it's also, there's that, and then some other examples of that is that pet battles in WoW that are like a big popular feature. People like them, and like obviously, you know, again, maybe we're not the target audience for that, but a lot of people do like pet battles. They were made just by like one guy.
Like I did it for a while. Like I don't think it was a bad system.
And a lot of things like this have just been made by like one guy. He just came up with this idea and there it is.
I think they could have done more with it. It's kind of a bit boring. Like that's really what was my issue with it. But it's not bad at all.
Games. Although they don't strictly follow the 80-20 rule, a game jam is just one example of its application. Letting your team take time to work on new and innovative ideas. Just pure creativity.
Yeah.
No deadlines. And creativity,
I think that's actually a good role.
Key to a company's longevity.
Yeah, creativity doesn't make money though. That's the problem.
Need to constantly innovate to stay alive, and it's what the AAA industry desperately needs.
I mean, but it's like he said, like 20% of the time, like giving 20% to creativity. That way you're not losing everything if it doesn't go well. You know what I mean?
Right now. So how can we get more games like Elden Ring? AAA studios need to allocate 20% of all their resources to working on new and
But that's also like his argument's kind of wrong also, because it's not like FromSoft does this, right? That I know of. They don't have the 80-20 rule. So you can't say Elden Ring, if you want more games like Elden Ring, you have to do this rule, because it's not how Elden Ring came about to begin with. So it's kind of, I mean, I agree with him, it's a good rule, but I just disagree that, not disagree, but I think he is using it badly here. Because Elden Ring isn't, FromSoft didn't use the rule.
innovative games. No deadlines, no parameters, just pure creativity. Let your developers work part-time.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to re-release Assassin's Creed again. Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's release Assassin's Creed again and see if that sells. Oh, it does? Oh, remember that game you used to play? We'll play it again.
Yeah, I do think Asmon's missing the whole, like, him just saying 20% and not, like, 100%. Like, side projects that people can do.
Time on something they are passionate about and be amazed at what they'll create. I'm not saying stop making sequels. As we saw, AAA studios make a lot of money from sequels, and sequels aren't always a bad thing. I'm stoked for a Hollow Knight 2, and I pray for a Warcraft 4. However, for
Not going to happen.
AAA studios to be profitable while garnering the love and support of the gaming community, AAA studios should.
Not unless some RTS game comes out and reinvigorates the interest in the genre. I don't see Warcraft 4 ever being a thing. Just straight up.
Look at Elden Ring as an example to stop making formulaic games.
Can we also admit that Elden Ring was very formulaic in a lot of ways?
It was.
It's just
That's what
that
I
they
said.
used the From Software formula.
Which is a
It
good
was
formula.
extremely formulaic.
Yep.
But you can go from playing Dark.
Yeah, it's almost like this dude has no idea that Dark Souls 1 through 3 exist, Bloodborne exists, and Demon Souls exist.
Souls 3
I'm not going to include Sekiro. It's pretty different.
to Elden Ring, and like 80% of what you did in Dark Souls 3, it's like, oh, I get this, I understand that, okay,
Yep.
this works the same way. Okay, so these are Titanite shards, got it, okay, and all right, so this is where you upgrade your gear, got it, all right, so this is fire.
So, yeah, it's exactly what I said when he was talking about, oh, it's its own series. It's like, yeah, but you could also call it Dark Souls 4, and most people would have been just fine with that.
Link Shrine, okay, round table hold, okay, and then, okay, so you can use parry with the smaller shields, and then, okay, heavier weapons, so you have more poise, right, okay, got it. Yeah, like a lot of this, so it's not about the 80-20 rule, it's about either one of these numbers being a shit number. Yeah, it's a bad foundation. The reason why it worked well, and the reason why everybody, like, one of my most popular videos recently about gaming was about that Dark Souls 3 mod. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that game does look, or that mod is like really cool.
To let their developers conceptualize and build masterpieces we all will appreciate, like Elden Ring. Hey, thanks to everyone who joined our Discord and submitted their favorite indie games for this week's video. The indie game our community voted as their favorite for this video was Inmost, made by Hidden Layer Games.
I don't know what that is.
It's a puzzle platform game, and it's currently being sold on multiple
Yeah, but that on my
so
wish
go
list.
check it out and join our Discord.
I don't
to
know
let
if
us
I'll get
what
it,
game we should
but
feature next.
it looked interesting, so I added it.
I actually think this was a pretty good, what do you call it?
Video.
This is a pretty good game. I mean, a pretty good video. I liked it a lot. And so Elden Ring is 80% Dark Souls 3, pretty much 80-20 the main. Yes. Yes, Chip video. No, I think this is a great video. I liked it a lot, but...
Well, when he was talking about 80-20, I think he was more talking about resources. So dividing 80% of the resources to the thing that's going to make money, and then 20% to passion projects to see if they can go anywhere. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that's what he was talking about when it came to the 80-20 rule.
But the only part of it that I disagree with is the fact that I don't like how there's so much of a fixation on like this 80-20 rule or whatever, because I just don't think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what happened with Elden Ring. Because it's like I said, I think that when it comes to the 80-20 rule, they were talking about resource allocation, while Elden Ring was more like a continuation of already like things they've done, but just built upon it. You know what I mean? Like they took Dark Souls 3, got the things that they did they thought were good, and did even more with it, or just copied it, and then they added the open world aspect to it. So I wouldn't say the 80-20 rule like applies to Elden Ring,
I think the reason why
because it's not like they were going to work on Dark Souls 4 and they did that 20% to a side project, and the side project was Elden Ring. Like that's not what happened.
this stuff happens is very simple. It's just because these games are safe options. They're easy
Yep.
to go with. There's no problems with them, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, but that's why the 80-20 rule is good, is that you're still devoting 80% of the resources to those games that are going to make you the money. But even 20, I don't know, like maybe you can do 10, I guess 90-10, doesn't really matter. As long as you're doing something to add to the creativity, because even if they bust, maybe there's an idea there that you can put in towards the main game that would make it better. So I do think the 80-20 rule, in the sense of it, doesn't have to be exact 80-20. It could even be 70-30 or 90-10. As long as you're devoting something here, because this is the creativity bucket, right? This is the safe bucket. This is the creativity bucket. As long as you're putting something in this bucket, that's you should do that. Because if you're putting nothing in here and it's just 100-0, then eventually this 100 is going to depreciate. Even though it's 100, what you're actually getting out of it isn't like the full amount that you could have had you kept to the 20, put something here. Because this here makes this fresh in a sense, this number fresh.
Yeah, it's very easy to do that. I think the problem is not that the problem is not that they're not being creative. It's that the foundation that they build off of is bad. That's
I don't
why
think so.
everybody gets hyped.
I actually don't agree with this, because if the foundation was bad, they would not have been remaking the games based on the foundation, because the foundation worked really well, and that's why they are continuously using it. The problem is they're never really adding that much creativity with it. They're not adding things to it. Like from Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 3, like completely different games. Not like in terms of like their feel, but in terms of how they play, how they look, I guess in a sense how they feel, but only the feeling of like the combat just feels so much better in Dark Souls 3. And Elden Ring takes it even a step above that, like doing things even better in most cases. And I think that's the problem with a lot of the other games, is that they don't do that.
Hyped up for a mod of Elden Ring or Dark Souls 3, but they don't get hyped up for an entirely new game of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
And that's hard to say though, with Asmon here, because the people who would get hyped up for the new Assassin's Creed game probably don't even realize there are mods for Elden Ring. You know what I mean? Like they're the casual normie player base who don't download add-ons, don't download mods. They just play their games, right? And usually like on a console. They're not really PC players usually. So it's like for them, because like the mod's not going to have as many downloads as the new Assassin's Creed game. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I think Asmon's wrong in that sense. Because if you're looking at it just on people who do know about the mod, then you're correct. But it's not the case.
It's because the foundation is boring. That's what I think. And also, again, like these games are meant for the wide audience, because you've got to keep in mind.
Exactly what I was saying.
Like, oops, wrong one. So this is the this is the entire gaming audience, right? All video gamers. And the people that are actually talking and playing video games are like this. So it's like whenever you make a video like this, it's only going to its maximum reach is going to be here, whereas the marketing for something like Assassin's Creed is going to be out here as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
smaller. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of people that consume gaming media. There are a lot of people, because I was thinking about that too, but it's not like it's a 1% situation. I think it's a lot, probably 20%, 25% of gamers do.
I think that's a fair.
I mean, like, unless you're including
guess.
mobile games, things like Candy Crush. But I'm talking about like AAA console games, etc. I would say like 25% of people, probably somewhere around there, consume content
1 in
about
4.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's impossible to say. There's no point arguing about the size of the circle. All I'm saying is that sometimes games like this Assassin's Creed game and like FIFA are made for this brown area, not the green area in the middle. They're made for that average,
Exactly what I was saying. Yeah.
everyday gamer that just plays video games. They like FIFA.
Did he make it
they
brown to say it's shit?
like sports.
Is it just me, or this does look like those what are those called? That one like pea. What is it? An olive? I think that's what I'm thinking of.
And that's it. Brown? Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I'll put it as blue. Okay. How about that? Do you feel better about that? Okay. Let's see here. And yeah, that's green. Yeah, whatever. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Okay, you get what I'm saying? I'm gonna link you guys the video.
Giving them shit for the colors.
I love videos talking about this, and I love watching them because
Oh yeah, I really like talking about these kind of things as well. I do think his suggestion is valid in that studios should have some kind of resources towards innovation towards on the game.
I think they're very thought provoking. They're the most interesting videos that I like to react to because they are the just more interesting. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, am I still farming Emerald and Dark Souls? Apparently no. Now she's farming me. I saw her watching my reaction to her reaction of my reaction of her playing the game. Yeah, I saw her doing that earlier on her stream. Yeah, so it's the other way around now, actually.
Yeah, I've seen those videos. They're pretty funny. Emerald was just like so much better than Asmon when he first played it. But yeah, no, like the conversation is pretty simple. Just it's the safer option. And while I do agree with them, it's hard to say why they don't have more resources to it. They probably do, but I doubt it's like an 80-20. It's probably like 95-5 or even 99-1 in terms of like what they actually put towards in terms of like creativity and innovation. Just because they know there's not really a need for it. I think they should, because you never know, you might make a really big hit like how Fortnite did. But yeah, no, it makes sense.